After playing around with this kit, there's only one thing I could say. このリアルグレードヌーガンダム全然伊達じゃない. What is going on, guys? MJ2005 Gundam here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the real grade new Gundam from Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack. Now, the opponents of the Sazabi is here, and I have to say this thing just looks astounding. And well, the decals do really add to the look, but from a straight build, it does look pretty damn good, especially if you try to put in the time to add in all of these decals, which, oh man, I have never felt so satisfied with doing a little bit of decal work. It just looks that freaking amazing. The proportions are very on the point, and then seam lines there are rarely any except for the panels that will move, and the gate placing, a lot of the parts are undergated, which I really do not know how to appreciate, but I've heard undergating is a really good asset if you do plan to paint this kit. So for those of you who are worrying about it, don't worry about it. This kit is definitely undergated, so you will not have to worry about painting this thing on the runners itself. And all in all, this thing just looks very damn nice. Now, the jumbo box still doesn't make any sense to me, but I don't mind it at all, because everything on here, it's just pinpoint perfect. Even the yellow V I struggled with the most, because well, this thing is a separate piece and it goes into like a minus sign or like a dash shape peg hole, whatever. But yeah, this thing is incredibly small and you really have to be careful, or else you would just straight up lose it. Now, apart from that, there are not really any hiccups in this build. Like, obviously, because I built very quickly, I tend to misread the instructions, but during the build itself, there aren't really any real hiccups. This thing is very fun to build, and on top of that, it's as sturdy as a freaking brick, while it is not a brick itself. I'll elaborate that in a moment. So this thing, you do not have to worry about falling parts, you do not have to worry about absolutely anything. Even the cockpit hatch, the alternate cockpit hatch, doesn't move when you don't want it to, which is a very good thing. The colors, you do have off-white and a pure white, so there's the classic two-tone base color, and I also really like the navy blue. It is really on point. I also really appreciate all the yellow details. This thing is just a masterpiece. I really cannot pick out the flaws in the bodywork alone. Stress on that because there is one major flaw that is to come. But all in all, this thing is... man, this just took my breath away from how amazing it looks. Articulation wise, the head is on a ball joint and the neck joint is not actually the gray neck joint. There is a collar joint over here so that the collar actually pops up when you try to move the head up. So you may need to be a little bit careful with it, because if you put in too much force you would dislodge the head, but you do get a pretty decent look up. Of course, looking down, looking sideways, it is not gonna be an actual problem at all. Now the arms themselves, well, the shoulders are separate, but they do not really go flimsy. The arms there are on pegs, so you can swiftly rotate the arm again. And then the shoulders themselves, they have this kind of a joint in the shoulder armor, and then the front and back pieces of the shoulder armor have a double hinge, so they can hinge out, kind of like for like a semi-transformation. I do not know if these pieces actually get out of the way of the arm or not, but yeah, with those out of the way, you could rotate the arm without rotating the shoulder, and then you can go out really far, coupled with the joint inside, and it can pop out, and then the joints in the back could allow it to go up, like so. So there is a multitude of joints that I could have forgotten, which is kind of a good thing because you do have a ton of maneuverability in the arm. Of course, we do have the standard rotation over here. There is a double jointed elbow, which does not have any armor separation, armor shifting, nothing, which is kind of like the norm for recent real grades, but I do not blame them for that because there isn't really any armor to shift in the elbows themselves. The wrists are on ball joints and they have a wrist joint up here. So they do have a little bit more maneuverability. And also, the special manipulators, the holding hands, they have a knuckle joint over here. So you could angle them to your very liking, which is a pretty nice addition. And now the waist, there are some very good joints in there. So the waist itself is on a peg, so you can rotate it very easily. And then there is a double hinge inside of the stomach, so you could shift the entire assembly up for some absolutely insane crunches. This is weirding me out, but the option is there. On top of that, for side-to-side tilting, it is like the double O real grades. It is inside of the chest, so you could do some side-to-side tilting alongside some crunches. So you get it to pose in the right position, it will look amazing. Just use these joints to your absolute advantage. Now in the front skirts, they can shift down over here. So people have been saying that this is for the heavy weapon system, and now the front skirts themselves, they can move, side skirts they can move, back skirts, or as I like to call the blood butt, they can move. So there is this unique mechanic in the waist that I will show off later because it's very, very complex. But for now, the lights, they can go forwards, go backwards, go outwards, rotation at the hip, a triple jointed knee, mind you. So there is this kind of a mechanic that I really, really love. So I'm not gonna say anything. First joint, piston shifting. How awesome is that in a 1:144 scale? Second is going to be the armor shifting, and then the third, it is going to be the separation of the knee and a slight, and I mean very, very minute protrusion of the rear thrusters. So look at that, a nice 180 plus a spectacle for you to watch. So I'm gonna do this again. Beautiful. And then the feet themselves, the ankles, they can rotate down, which does actually bring down this piece of armor, so the armor does shift in and out when you move the ankle, which is very, very nice. Rotation up top, and then a side-to-side bend at the bottom, and then the toes, they are not complex, so it can only move up, which to me is a good thing, so that it can stand flat-footed, unlike a lot of the other real grades. And then the backpack, the housing unit for the fin funnels can move, but that does mean the non-full length decal will show. I really, really would have wished that they had given us a full length decal, but I could understand why they didn't. So there's that. And then the beam saber over here, they can move up and down like so. And then the thrusters, they have a flap over here that they can move. So it's mainly just a minute shift. But all in all, articulation, not only is the articulation of this guy really, really good, it still has a very, very unique, and I mean very unique and beautiful display for you guys to watch. So that makes it for the articulation section. It is a spectacle to watch, and you can put it in absolutely any pose that you want. So for the unique mechanic in the legs, I would say that it is very, very hard to pull off. So I really want to take off everything, and I mean everything, to get a little bit of clearance, just so I could show you guys. Now, what you want to do first is to tip down this part over here, and then you want to bring this entire feet unit down, just like any other real grade. And then what you want to do is to bring down the centerpiece of the freaking back skirt, which is very, very hard. And then what you want to do is to tip the top piece up, which is very, very hard to do. There we go. Tip the top piece up, and then close this thing back up, and then shift the front skirt piece forward. That unlocks something. Now you can now tilt the entire thing down, and then close the front skirt back up, close the top piece back up, and then close the locking mechanism back up. Now what this basically does is allows your new Gundam to pull off the wing zero pose, which has its entire hips shifted forward. Now I'm gonna reassemble this thing, and I'm gonna be right back. So this basically allows your new Gundam to basically do this. So just kind of like a diving into the pool pose, or as I like to call it in Gundam terms, the twin buster rifle shooting pose. So now I'm going to revert it back, do the 10 step, process in reverse, and I'm going to be right back once again. Okay, with the new Gundam back to its default stance, now I could actually show you the gimmicks that is offered. First of all, we cannot forget Mr. Ray, Mr. Amuro Ray. And then the opening cockpit. There are two ways to open the cockpit. First of all, it's just with the basic tip the cockpit unit out and then just open it up. Now, I really do not know how to adjust to it, but here we go. The cockpit is open. Now, the alternate way to open up the cockpit is to grab some forceps, tweezers, whatever you want to call it, and then just slide the red piece up. It is a very loose piece when you assemble it, but when you put it on the chest, it's gonna be tight. So you would not have to worry about this piece dropping down anytime soon. Unless your plastic wears off, of course. So there's that. And then we do get a few pairs of manipulators. So apart from the holding hands and the fists, you do get a pair of open hands and one right trigger finger hand right here. Now, moving on to the weapons, first of all, we have the large beam saber, which is going to be mounted inside of the backpack right here. And it does have a panel that it can flip out. This is, I think, purely cosmetic, but I'm not sure. Now, bring in one of the holding hands and you just peg the beam saber right in. Now, the beam saber only has the hole on the one side, so if you want to have the new Gundam hold it in the left hand, it's going to be holding it in reverse, which is kind of a bummer. So you switch out the hands, and then you do get two custom beams for the large beam saber. First of all, it's going to be like this curved large beam over here, which you can just stick in like so. And then there's going to be this teeny tiny beam over here. So you could just stick it in like so. There's a specific way. So if you inserted it, everything just goes flush together. So it looks like this. Now, the beam saber is going to be held by the new Gundam. Now, the second beam saber is going to be housed inside the left arm. So what you basically do is to shift this part, it automatically tips out due to gravity, close it back up, and it's tipped out all the way. Tug it out, and then you do get the high-grade 2013 variety of beams. So basically the beams used by the Wing Gundam and so on. So you could just stick these beams right into the beam saber. So for ranged weaponry, let's start off with the beam rifle. So the color separation here is astounding, and I have to say it does look very nice, especially with the spice added on by the decals. The yellow piece over here is the natural plastic piece. The gray inside, or the navy blue inside, is actually sandwiched together by the two pieces of white and then just stuck the barrel on there. It is very good looking. Now, before I have the new Gundam hold it, there is actually a way to store it, and it actually involves the complex waist mechanic. So what you want to do is to basically shift the centerpiece down. I still haven't found an optimum way to tip it down unless you just stick it in the gap. After that, you basically flip out this storage peg over here and then just plug it right onto the blood butt. And there we go. The beam rifle is stored without any issues. And then we basically bring in the trigger finger hand and then let the new Gundam hold it. So there we have it. Now, I have to warn you guys because the beam rifle is pegged very securely into the holding hand, so it is a little bit hard to take out. Just be careful with it. Next up, the alternate ranged weapon, the large bazooka. Now, this is extended form. You can just basically collapse it just to store it. It has a peg up here that you can flip out, which stores it into the backpack very soundly, like so. But then if you want to use it, flip down the peg, flip out the handle, and extend the barrel. It does look very nice. So you basically give it to the new Gundam once again, but yeah, you have to swap it out for the beam rifle because there is no right trigger finger hand, unfortunately. Here we have it. The new Gundam holding the bazooka in a very stupid position. Next up is gonna be the shield, which is something I literally don't understand. Now, by itself, it does look very nice. It looks plain without the decal. So, if you do not plan to decal and detail up the new Gundam, you have to do it for the shield because it will look very pale and very bland without these decals on there. Despite its good looks, it doesn't really function well, although it does have a rotation over here so that you can adjust the position of the shield, but you're supposed to plug it into the left arm. However, it doesn't peg on at all. Like a few shakes and it falls out. However, if you want to plug it onto the right hand, it stays relatively better and it doesn't really come out at all. So I think it's because of the shifting mechanism over here that basically made this thing completely useless, but it just feels weird. But gunplay is freedom and all that, but it is a little bit disappointing that it cannot hold up the shield in the arm that it's supposed to be on. So I'm gonna leave it off for now, and then we move on to the main star attraction, the fin funnels. Now, I get this question a lot in my stream. Do the fin funnels stick on? Very well. Like, as you can see here, they do not want to fall out. But in the precondition that you assembled everything right, because they are pegged on with a clip joint and a bar joint. So you need those to basically fit inside of the holes at the same time so that it has fortified connections. But if any one of these falls out of position, then it will be very loose. So you need to pay attention when you're trying to mount these on. So how do you mount it onto the new Gundam? Now you can see these holes and bars over here, which basically clips onto the new Gundam's backpack. And now things just got a whole lot worse because you need to counteract the asymmetrical weight balance. So it is possible to allow the new Gundam to stand, but it would be in a very weird position. Now, Bandai offered us the twin fin funnel configuration of the backpack, so if you do not like the beam saber, you could switch it out for this. Now, each of these fin funnels do come out as you would expect, and yeah, when they are folded up, they look very nice. But you really could not do anything with these unless you get a Action Base 5 with the figurized effects, which I'm going to be showing off now. So it is going to be like a brief showcase. I'm going to be reviewing these in a later video after my trip, so don't worry about it. Now basically what you do with the figurized effects is that you can see this cross-shaped peg over here. So you basically plug it into the cross on the fin funnels. So now they are thrusting out. And you can see this adapter right here, this weird looking adapter. So you could basically take off the new Gundam's backpack, which is necessary. You peg the clip joint into the bar on the backpack, like so. And then with a very precise alignment, you plug the new Gundam back on, and now he's either have a back support or he will be airborne. So it is pretty much up to you guys. So I'm gonna leave it off like this for now. So that's basically all the accessories for the real grade new Gundam. Those are all the accessories for the real grade new Gundam. Now, moving on to another burning question that everybody's asking me, does this thing have any psycho frame? And I am very sad to tell you guys, no. This guy does not have any psycho frame, but what this guy does have is a similar transformation gimmick to the Sazabi. So this thing does have shifting pieces of armor. Now I did showcase in the articulation part that the shoulder pieces are on a double hinge, so you can open those up. And then the chest piece, exactly like the Master Grade, you can shift the front chest pieces down. Now if you're wondering if you can see that very slight seam of green, I painted these in. So yeah, I did kind of have a mishap over here, but it is worth painting the chest pieces green if you really want to have a little bit of a hint of psycho frame. And then you just tug these things down. And then for the feet, you basically have the shifting armor here. And now I did paint the insides of it green as well, so as to add a little bit of a cycle frame effect. Not necessarily cycle frame, but yeah, it's shifting armor, so why not? Now this is basically the new Gundam transformed, and I have to say it's minute, and I'm glad that they added in the mechanic, but I would have wished for a full cycle frame transformation like the Master Grade has, because this thing does have cycle frame. Nobody complained about the Unicorn Gundam transformation, so if they could, and if they wanted to, they could definitely have done it on this guy. But disappointingly, you do not have any cycle frame. But that's besides the point. Comparison time. So first of all, let's bring in the standard Gundam and see how much this guy dwarfs the North American type. You could see quite the head height difference there. And let's bring in the predecessor of the new Gundam. No, not the Mu Gundam, the narrative Gundam. Now I did mess around with the armaments of the narrative Gundam before, so it looks very, very weird right now, but not even the C packs could match up to the new Gundam's height. Assuming that the high grade is actually accurate. So that is quite a beast. And then there is this fatty wasabi of the real grade line, the Sazabi. Now the new Gundam looks a lot slimmer as expected, but what would happen if I actually mounted on the fin funnels onto the new Gundam? It does gain quite the height and intimidation factor. Apart from the pair being very, very weird when put right next to each other, these things are the classic Char versus Amuro kind of setup. So I really couldn't put any blame on them. So that's gonna round it up for this new Gundam review. What do I think of this kit? Well, the marks is hovering between an 8 to 9 out of 10. This is astounding. This is breathtaking. This is phenomenal. But the one gripe that I have, apart from the cycle frame, but that is just cosmetic, I could let it go. That doesn't count to the deducted mark. But the deducted mark basically attributes to the shield not being able to be properly mounted on the left arm. So the shield is one of the very major factors that affect this guy very, very severely. But it's probably on mine, but I doubt that it's only mine that's the issue. I think that is a general issue with new Gundams. But with all of that aside, I would definitely recommend this spectacle of a model kit to you guys. It is absolutely spectacular. You do not need to be worried about this thing being hard to build, because it actually isn't, and it doesn't take too long to build and to put on the decals. Moreover, you would get very, very excited with watching the mechanics work their way into the pose that you want to put this guy in. And of course, the fin funnels, they are not an issue at all, apart from the weight issues caused by the asymmetry, but that is just the worst of physics. You could easily counteract the asymmetry and get this guy to stand on the ground as I have now. So apart from the shield, this thing is near perfect. Let me tell you guys this. So 8 to 9 out of 10. An absolute recommend. That's it for me. So thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did like it, please be sure to drop a like, comment, and also subscribe for more Gunpla reviews, Gunpla news, and all the kind of stuff. Subscribe to the featured channels on my channel page if you haven't, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out, guys. Bye bye.